Hello, everyone. Hi, Abhishek. Hi, Ocean.
Hi, Sonia.
Hey, Ashwin. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. We have, hi, Anita. Hi, Kanchan. How are you doing? We have a lot of people joining us today. We'll be starting at 7:30. Oh, it's
It is
7:30 in my
7:30.
watch already. Let's wait for a few more people to join in and then we'll begin. So I know that you have some fun stuff for us today.
Well, so the topic is a relatively serious topic. So I thought
Okay.
I need to put a comical twist at it or a creative twist at it. So I hope that happens. We'll come to know, I think, in the comment section once the presentation starts.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it. I hope the jokes are not on me.
There aren't any jokes. Don't worry about that.
Okay. All right. Hi, Nidhi. Hi, Anita. Hi, Charu. Thank you for joining. Hi, Kanchan. Hello. All right. So we will begin in a couple of minutes. We are just waiting for a few more people to join us. And then we'll start today's session. Great. So I hope everyone knows about today's topic. It's time management. So the serious topic that Ashwin is going to talk about is time management, how he's going to tell us about how to manage our time better. I know where's the inspiration coming from, but I hope I learned few things today on how to manage my time better. Um, Ashwin, shall we begin? We have a good amount of people joining us now. So,
Sure, absolutely.
okay. All right, so welcome everyone to another episode, I would say now, of Knowledge Happy Hour. You all know that we meet every day at 7:30 p.m. and every day we bring in a new topic. We call it a Knowledge Happy Hour so that we bring in our a new topic to you for to learn, to grow, something to just share with each other so that we all can move forward in terms of knowledge in our lives. So today I have Ashwin Dewan with us. He'll be talking about time management. Welcome, Ashwin.
Thank you, Sonia.
All right, a brief introduction about Ashwin. Ashwin is the co-founder and managing partner of Indian School of Image Management. A lot of you know him very well who are on Facebook right now. You know that Indian School of Image Management is the premier institute in India, which provides high quality education in image management and soft skills. About Ashwin, he has more than 15 years of dynamic experience in various fields and has worked in well-established organizations as well as has a entrepreneur journey to himself, a lot of experience. I think maybe Ashwin, you can share that in one another session
Sure.
about your entrepreneurship journey, and we can all take some inputs from it. His domain expertise lies into marketing and business development, business strategy, and he has worked into marketing and business strategy in competitive markets such as India, Australia, Southeast Asia, Middle East, and yeah, a few more other countries. All right. And also another thing, another side about Ashwin, he's a philanthropist and he's working on building quality education for children and infrastructure such as school and classroom for children in India for in the underprivileged areas and underprivileged children. So that's about him. And also he's a qualified and experienced keynote speaker and trainer in the domain of soft skills, social media, digital marketing, business development, a lot. And yes, today he's going to talk about time management. So I think I have overdid the introduction already and not utilized my time better. So over to you, Ashwin.
Thank you, Sonia. Thank you for such a nice introduction. I probably have never had such a long introduction ever done for myself. It has almost given me a self reflection of what I've done for the last probably decade and a half. So it brings back a lot of memories. But yeah, thank you so much. Very kind of you to share those key things about me. So welcome everyone. Today's session is going to be on time management. As I said at the start, it is a serious topic, but I was hoping to bring in a little bit of a comical twist, a creative look at it, just make it a little bit easier. So we're going to go through this together. What I would really encourage you all during the session is use the comment stream on Facebook. Put down questions, but not only questions, but things what you learn from the session, or things that I might ask you to comment also. Please go ahead and utilize that. And Sonia, my host for today, will probably help me manage that comment stream a little bit, because I'm a little bit handicapped with that, I'm telling you first of all. So that's about it. Why don't we get jumped into the presentation? Okay. I hope everyone can see my screen now, and we will get started. Okay, so as I said, the subject or the topic for the session is going to be on time management. So when I was preparing this presentation and thinking about how to present this concept to everyone, I read a lot of content. I probably researched a lot also on it. I am probably a person who's also has a lot to learn on this subject. So that's why I was very keen to even present what I understand from it. But when I read about it, I learned a lot of technical aspects. So I wanted to share some of the technical aspects, but a simplified version of that. So I hope this session gives you that understanding. So when I started with the entire understanding of time management, I started by asking this question to myself, that what is time exactly? I mean, it is a very vast question to ask. It's a very, it's not easy to culminate an answer to what is time. I think probably the greatest scientists of the world and philosophers of the world are still struggling to find a clear definition of time. But then after a lot of research, I came to one definition, which was scientific in nature, but I thought I relate with it or understand it the best here. So what it says is that time is indefinite, continued process of existence and events. So it's an ongoing process. It's a culmination of everything which is our past, our present, and our future. So that itself is time. So it's a very fluid concept. It's something that's constantly in motion. That itself is what the core concept of time is. So that's a great definition. I thought that was a good way to start. But then I thought, let me try to understand two important elements of what time is. That's a great definition, but what are the elements and what creates time? And what are the main features of time? So the first thing that I could come or realize about time is that time cannot be stored. There is just no way we can store time. You cannot take time, put it in a box, and put it in a locker. There's no way to do it. There is way to save memories, but memories is not time. Time can never be stored. It is a constant process, as I said. It is not going to stop for anyone. You're just going to go through the entire aspect. So before we even get into the concepts or what and how to do management of time, we have to understand the features of time, that it will not stop for anyone. So that's the number one thing that I realized about time. The second thing I really understood about time was it's extremely precious. Yes, it is probably the most precious thing that anyone on us or any one of us have on this earth. It's something that is always diminishing. The clock is always running down. It's like a stopwatch which is running down. So time is always probably the most precious thing in the world. It is more precious than gold, diamonds, you name it. Really think about it. It is probably, you cannot exchange it for anything. So thinking about or keeping these two things in mind, that time cannot be stored and time cannot is probably very precious. What I realized that to simplify what time is nothing but a commodity. It's a thing. It's something that we have with ourselves, which is reducing every minute. So to simplify for yourselves, whenever you think, what is time? It's nothing but a commodity. All right. Keeping that in mind, what happens to each one of us now when we're thinking about time management, we can divide time into two types of time. And I'm not going to get into technical aspects of time. These are simple ways of looking at time. Time is either fast or time is either slow. Think about it right now with this 21-day lockdown and this extensive period of social isolation, social distancing that we are going through, for us, time is moving extremely slow. Whereas in most months, 2 weeks or 3 weeks would fly by without you even coming to know. Think about it when you're on a vacation. You are so excited about the vacation, and by the time it ends, you really think about where did the time go? I just feel that the vacation has just started. So that's why it's all a perception of our mind. So time for us can work very fast when we enjoy activities, when we are absorbed by those activities, when we are really passionate about activities we want to do. And things that we are not passionate, like the little video at the bottom of the screen of the person working in office, for some people, it's extremely slow. They can't wait for the day to get over. So therefore, things which you're really bored with, things which you're not really caring about, those are the ones which probably drag time on. So once we've understood what time is a commodity. And now we've understood that time can be divided into two things. It's slow and it's fast. All right. So now we need to understand how our lives are working today. Without this coronavirus, if you really think back a few months ago, or maybe even a few years ago, all what we do is our lives are so involved with day-to-day activities, we don't even know sometimes when our day starts and when our day ends. It's something that is just constantly moving. We need to understand how our how planned are we. Some of us do excellent work at probably developing to-do lists, of developing things which are useful for people to understand how to plan their days. But even with all those to-do lists, the apps, the benefits that we have, we still cannot understand how to manage our lives, because we're not managing our time effectively. And that's where time management comes into play. All right. So now that we've understood what time is, we've understood the chaos that we live in, we've understood what are the types of time, which is slow and fast. Now we are understanding what is time management. So simply put, time management is the way we organize and plan the time that we have for the activities that we have to do. So if we are supposed to do certain activities, how exactly we are planning our time is what time management is. Remember, time is a commodity. So we have to plan it and utilize it in the right manner before it finishes off. Okay. So to understand time management, I thought I'll start with a theory. So this theory is something which is called the pickle jar theory. It's a theory which is quite popular with time management, and is used by a lot of people. Even Stephen Covey has probably written about a little bit about the pickle jar theory in his books of 7 Successful Habits. Now let's understand what this pickle jar theory is. Simply put, this pickle jar theory is telling you how to divide the tasks that you have in a day, or the things that you do in a day, and try to put them in a jar. Okay. A pickle jar is nothing but a glass jar where you can put, let's say, anything, sugar, achar, whatever you may say, but it's a small container that you have. What you're going to do with this container is you're going to divide your task into 3 things. There is in this jar sand, there is pebbles, and there are rocks. So the green big circles that you see in this jar, in this picture here, are the rocks. The smaller ones are the pebbles, and the smallest one is sand. What we have to do is try to fit whatever we do on a daily basis in this jar to really understand how we're utilizing our time. So to give you a better understanding about these 3 elements of sand, pebbles, and rocks, let's understand what will fall under sand. Typically under sand, it represents all the phone calls, all the emails, all the social media notifications, all the time that we move away and play a small game, send out a few messages on WhatsApp, reply to a few friends, all those little disturbances, have a quick conversation at the coffee machine with our colleagues in office. All those little things are what sand is. So that is represented as sand in this theory. The second thing is the pebbles. The pebbles are the things that you're supposed to do. Those are the everyday to-do list things that you have to do. For example, you have to cook, You have to make breakfast. You have to eat breakfast. You have to travel to work. You have to get dressed. You have to take a shower. All those tasks that you have to do every single day are the ones which go into the pebbles. So fill that up with all the list of pebbles that you have in your life on a day-to-day basis. The last comes the rocks. The rocks represent the important tasks. The important tasks that cannot be ignored. If you ignore that task, it will have a significant impact to your life. For example, if your job is supposed to send a certain report once you get into office to your seniors or to your clients or conduct something for your customers, that is a rock. Because if you do not do that rock, then you will impact your job, your day-to-day life. So those are the big rocks that are there in your life. So this pickle jar theory helps you understand what is created or what is there in your day-to-day life. You have sand, you have pebbles, and you have rocks. And you have to try to see if you can fit in. So I would say it is a experimental and a visualization theory. Yes, there is no way to figure out how much sand to put in a jar when trying to figure this out, but understand this as a metaphor towards planning your day and understanding what you're going to be doing. So understand the rocks, the sands, and pebbles represent different tasks, different activities that you're supposed to be doing every single day. Now that if we understand what are these three different elements, when people go out and do or plan their day, most of us do it in this manner. We focus on filling our jar, or in this case, our glass, with sand. We immediately fill it up with all the emails I have to send, all the calls I have to do, all the notifications. Immediately we get up in the morning and the first thing we do is start reading our emails, start replying to notifications. That's the first thing we fill up in our jar, all the sand. And then after we fill up the jar with sand, then we fill it up with the pebbles and then the rocks. This is what we all are doing every day of our lives. And this is the wrong way to do it. Okay? So we cannot do it. Just think about it from trying to fit in a closed space, all these things. You have to do all of this. You have to use the sand. You have to fit in the pebbles and the rocks. It's about finding a way to fit them correctly. So the way to go about that is the first thing you do in your jar, and your jar is your day, your life. The first thing you do is fit the big things, the big stones that you have, the rocks that you have, that represent the major impact tasks, because you have to finish those. The next thing you fit up with them is the small pebbles. They figure out where in the jar the little pebbles can fit in. Once you fit in all the rocks and all the pebbles into your jar, that's when you start pouring in the sand, which will fill up all the corners which are left off in your jar. So the point is that you have to prioritize. You have to prioritize your rocks to be fit into your jar first. That's first. The next is your pebbles. And then finally comes in all the sand. And if you're able to do that, that's the correct way to do it. So if anyone's a fan of Leonardo, I'm pretty sure he's going to be quite happy if you do this in this manner. All right. So that's a simple way of understanding the pickle jar theory. That is the way that you should plan your days. You divide your entire day into three different things: sand, pebbles, and rocks. And then you try to fit everything into that one jar that you have. The best way to do it is, again, first fit the rocks, then the pebbles, and then the sand. Okay? So I hope this is getting clear to everyone, and everyone's getting a better understanding of how time should be managed. Again, if you have questions, drop them in the comment section in Facebook, and then I will try to probably come back to you with answers at the end of the session. So now that we've understood the entire pickle jar theory, now let's move on to another aspect. That's called the time management matrix. Okay? So don't worry, it's a pretty simple matrix. It's not that complicated. So to understand this, you have a small box in front of you right now. Okay? These boxes are broken down into 4 quadrants, which is type 1, type 2, type 3, and type 4. Each quadrant is represented by 2 elements. So for example, Quadrant 1 is represented with tasks or things that you want to do urgent and important. So let's not think of it as tasks, but things that are urgent and important. So that's type 1. Type 2 is not urgent and important. Type 3 is not important, not urgent. And type 4 is not urgent, not important. Okay, I'll take a pause here. The idea here is to understand this matrix. There are these 4 types. Each one of us move and oscillate between all these 4 different sections for different activities in our lives. Certain people stay in a single quadrant for longer periods, and certain people are able to quickly move between quadrants. What we have to understand is that how do we oscillate between a quadrant 3 to a quadrant 2 or a quadrant 1 to a quadrant 2. Okay, and before we get a little overwhelmed with these quadrants and boxes, let's try to understand these types. Okay, so let's first start with type 1. Okay, which is urgent and important. So type 1 is people who think everything they do in life, every single task, the email, the WhatsApp, every single thing that is there, the task, the one they have to get to office, everything is urgent and every single thing is important. There is nothing that is not important in their life. Even getting up and making breakfast is important to them in their lives. There's nothing that is deprioritized. These are the people who tend to showcase items such as stress. They get stressed very fast, or they live in stress. Some of them actually enjoy this aspect of stress. So they have a constant aspect of burnout, because when you're living a life which is of urgent and important, your body and your mind will take a severe toll on it. But then these people are the ones who are excellent in crisis management, in coming up with solutions on the fly. They are great firefighters. You put them in a situation and they will find a solution and a way to get out of it. They can think on their feet instantly. They focus on the immediate. They don't think about what happens after I do a thing for 2 years, 1 year. They don't think very long term. They think about today and now. That is what type 1 is. Everything is urgent. Everything is important. All right. So now think about it for yourselves. Put it down in the comments. Who thinks they probably spend maximum time of their lives as type 1? Okay. Let's go to the next one. Type 3. And there's a reason I'm not talking about type 2. I've not forgotten, but I will come back to it later. But let's understand type 3. Type 3 is urgent and not important. Every single task in their life is urgent. I have to do it. But most importantly, it's not important. So when things are urgent, most likely you will not be able to focus on it. So their focus is on very short-term goals. They feel victimized and lack of control. They just go with the flow. Things come to them and they just do it. Because everything is just given to them saying, can you do this? All right, I'll do it. Because they don't know what is important and what is not important. They're not able to prioritize what are the things they need to look at. These are the elements of type 3. All right. So that's type 3. Again, urgent, but not important. If anyone is a fan of Friends, you would realize with this image what I'm talking about. Joey is a classical example of everything is urgent. I have to do that right now, but everything is not important because I can't get to realize what should I do and what I should do. Okay. The next thing, okay, is type 3 and 4. So certain people oscillate between 3 and 4. Those are the people who cycle between finding no sense of responsibility. They like to disappear off the screen as the image shows. They are the people who do not like responsibilities, authority. They don't want it. They shy away from it. They have extensive dependency on others. Others need to tell them what they need to do because everything is not urgent. Everything is not important. It's just life. They're just living life as it goes. They have very short views on their careers or the activities or things that they have to do because they don't think long term again. And again, they don't think anything is important. So those are the people who typically are in type 4 and oscillate between type 3 and type 4. Just keep moving in that section. So think about yourselves also. Where do you oscillate? Where are you typically majority of the time spending? In which type are you with? And then finally comes type 2. Type 2 are the people who have everything is not urgent, but everything is important. What does that mean? Everything is not urgent because everything is well planned, well thought through. They already have a vision in place. They have a list of activities, what they have to do today, and they already have decided what they're going to do the next month, the next week, the next year. They have everything thought through. They are visionaries. They already see the future. They are the ones who are extremely balanced, extremely disciplined. They have extensive control over what they want to do. They're not emotional. They won't take decisions on the spur of the moment. They will like to think about it before they commit to anything, because they think everything has importance. Everything needs to be given its due focus. But everything does not have to be done on the 99th minute. Okay, these are not the people who get up at 2 hours before their exam and open their books and read. They are the ones who probably studied throughout the year and are well prepared with every single thing. That's type 2. All right, so now I want you to really think about it. Take a moment and think about which type do you fall under. I will just cycle back to this slide. Think about it. Which type do you fall under this matrix? And again, when you might not fall under certain only one type, you might be focused on one or two of them. You might be oscillating between multiple. But what you need to realize is, where are you spending majority of your time? And then you need to understand, why are you spending majority of your time for a certain quadrant or a certain time? How can you move to different quadrants for different tasks that you're doing? All right, so these are the 4 types or the 4 quadrants of time management. This is the matrix of time management, which you have to understand even before thinking how to utilize your time. I hope this has given you a little bit more ideas or clarity on it. So now that we've understood the jar theory, which effectively tells us how to prioritize our days, we've understood how our psychology works in the 4 quadrants. Now let's focus on 4 easy ways to really make your time more effective, because that's why all of us are here on Facebook today. That's what we all really want to know. How do we make our time more effective? So there are these 4 Ds that you have to follow. The first D is delete it. You have to learn to delete it. When there are certain things, think back to the jar which I spoke about. You have to learn to take things out. Some things cannot be fit into the jar. May that be the sand, the pebbles, or the stone. It has to be a conscious call to delete things out of your to-do list, your tasks, your activities, your days, your lives. Learn to not focus on those things. So the first thing you have to do when looking at becoming more effective with your time, you have to focus on deleting certain things which cannot be fit into that jar. Okay, so first thing, delete it. The second thing that you have to do is delegate it. You have to learn to give others a responsibility to do certain things. If something cannot be done by you, and it is urgent and it's important and someone has to get to it, you can't ignore it and you cannot delete it. So you have to learn to delegate it. Give it to someone else who can do it. But the most important thing when you're thinking about delegate it is delegate it with love. Look at the image that I've put up there. Someone's giving the other person something to do, but you have to give it with love. Because if you give it with authority or with a forceful nature, people most likely will not do the task. Or even if they do the task, they won't do it to the way they should be doing it. Right? So always when you're giving away something that you were supposed to do to someone else to do, make sure you do it and give it with love. All right? Show that compassion, show that humbleness, show that care when delegating. All right, that's the second D of time management. Let's see the third D of time management, which is do it. So now you've decided about deleting it. You've got rid of the stuff that you don't care about, you don't need to do anymore. You've also taken out the things that are important, but you can't do it. It's not important for you to do it. The task is important, but you don't have to do it. So therefore, you have delegated it. Now it's time to do the rest of it. There are no shortcuts. You have to do the hard work. Just like Nike says, just do it. Yes, you have to do it. No one will come and do it for you. So when you're left with whatever's there in your jar, you have to start doing it. All right, that's the third D. And then there is a fourth D, which is defer it. Defer it means there are certain activities which were important for you to do, but logically you know you cannot complete it. You cannot delete it because it's a very important activity. You cannot defer it. You cannot delegate it. You have to do it, but you do not have the time to do it right now. So it's important to defer it. Defer it to a later point of time. Do it later. But when you're deferring any activity, make sure you clearly inform people that you are deferring an activity. You cannot say, yes, I'll get to it, to a person and communicate that aspect. And then in your mind, you have deferred it because you've given a commitment to others that you're going to do an activity. So in their minds, it's your do it activity, but you've decided to defer it. So very importantly, make sure you inform people when you're deferring it. As the cat says, not now, not today, but I will get to it, and then tell people when you will get to it. All right, very important, defer it. So these are the 4 Ds of time management that you have to keep in mind when you're looking at making your days more effective. Now we've understood how to make our time more effective. What we need to understand a concept of what we all use: to-do lists, planners, days. What do we do? Many of us use apps. Some of us use Excel. Some of us use Google Calendar, task sheets, etc. But there is a concept of cascading. Whenever you're looking at creating any kind of tasks or to-do lists, you have to look at it at a cascading way. The first thing, how the cascading works, you have to go top to down. You can't start with my daily planner. You have to start with your overall plan. What's your overview of this year? What do you plan to achieve this entire year? 2020 has started. We are already sitting in April. 3 months have come and gone. We only have 9 months left. Have you planned what your year is going to be? Did you plan what are the things you want to achieve in this year? Once you've planned your overall year, that's when you break that plan down into monthly activities or monthly themes, I can say. So every month you will have a theme. What I'm going to achieve this month. That monthly theme will be further broken down into weekly plans. What am I going to achieve this week? What's my Monday going to look like? What's my Tuesday going to look like? What's my Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? Every single day you've planned your week. And then you further break it down into your daily plans. What am I going to do today to achieve my weekly plan? And my weekly plan will help me achieve my monthly plan, and my monthly plan will help me achieve my yearly plan. Why cascading is important and why you have to look at it from a year all the way down to a day is because every one of us, or most of us, use daily planners. We use things such as to-do lists. But quite often at the end of the year, we try to recollect and say, where did the year go? What did we exactly do? I don't remember how fast this year just passed away. Why that happens is quite often because we've not planned our year. We don't have those high level items identified. What are your achievements for this year? You don't have planned those. So therefore, it's hard to identify what did I do this year. So very important, look at cascading when you're looking at planning your time and planning time management also. Okay. Now we'll move to the last element of time management, which I'm going to explore today, which are time wasters. Today, we are in a world where there are constant time wasters. We live in constant distractions, disturbances every minute of our day. So we need to understand what are these time wasters and try to find ways to eliminate it. So the way to eliminate is first you have to acknowledge them and then try to see how you can get rid of them. All right. So time waster number 1, which is probably the one which we use or wastes our time the most, which is our phones, our telephones, our cell phones, our smartphones. We constantly, imagine when you're in office or you're doing something really important at home also. You're in the complete focus zone and then suddenly your phone starts ringing. And then you have a conversation for 20 minutes with a friend, a colleague, a family member. And then you have to come back to the activity you're doing, refocus, rethink what it was, how much time is wasted in that. So therefore, phones is an important, you have to identify phones as a time waster. Few things that you should look at doing. Make sure you use the voicemail feature. I find it funny that in India, very few people actually use the voicemail feature. It's a very good feature which every one of us has simply just to activate in our phones. It's an easy way. When I'm focused on doing something, I should just simply put my phone on voicemail, and then once I'm done with it, I will reply back to everyone. I know why they called me. So activate that voicemail feature. Make sure that whenever you're talking on phone, avoid small talk. Get to the point. Yes, sometimes small talk is good to build relationship, to break the ice, but you don't want to have a long call in which majority of the time you are doing small talk. If a call is important, get to the point, talk about it, and move on. Another thing that you can do, which I have personally tried, is stand up while you're talking. If you get into a comfortable chair, a comfortable zone, and start talking, you'll probably be there for hours. So you want to stand up and start talking. You'll get tired, and then you'll realize, all right, I need to get off this call now. So good way to remember is stand and talk, or maybe even walk and talk. All right. Set up, and one last thing that you want to do also is set up some time separately in your day only to focus on calls. Set up a time saying, for example, 11 o'clock in the morning to 12 or 1 o'clock, I'm just going to focus on calls. Rest of the day, I'm not available. I'm going to be on voicemail. And the evening, again, I'll come back and answer calls. So set up a certain time of the day which is just dedicated for calling. All right? Because phones is a huge time waster. The next time waster is meetings. Luckily, we don't have that many physical meetings right now in the last 3 to 4 weeks. But think about it. How much time do we work and in the office spend in meetings? And at least for me, I can tell you, I sometimes spend the entire day in meetings. It's just a back-to-back sessions of meetings after meetings after meetings. And then I really wonder, where did my day go? All I've done is just sat in meetings, heard people, said a few things, and got done with it. So very important thing is meetings is also a time waster. Have a purpose and an agenda to a meeting. Have a stipulated time for a meeting. Live in that time zone. I mean, if you're giving 1 hour for your meeting, make sure you don't spend 2 hours just discussing. Yes, it's great to brainstorm, but brainstorming also has to happen on a stipulated time. Importantly, when you're doing meetings, arrive on time. Punctuality. Don't waste your time and others. Start the meeting on time, end the meeting on time. And a great session, another great idea, again, similar to phones, is stand up and do meetings. We've done that at ISIM. When we do our meetings in office, we make sure all of us stand up and have a meeting. What meetings used to last for us probably an hour now finish up in 20 minutes. I adapted this strategy after reading Jeff Bezos has implemented this in Amazon, where all his meetings he does standing up. So make sure you use these ways to make your time better utilized. All right. And you don't have to be a person like in this slide, jumping out of the window, trying to get out of a meeting. Okay. So time waster meetings. Keep that in mind. The next time waster is emails. A lot of our time, unless your job is just replying to emails, don't waste time in writing back emails all day. Quite often or not, I see my colleagues and my team members also, the minute they get into work, all they immediately they start doing is starting to reply to emails. That's not your job. Your job is to do a lot more things than just replying to emails. Make your plan. If you've planned your day, you know that there is a stipulated time, just like the phone calls, that you're going to set aside to reply to emails. Plan it in such a manner that the entire day is just not responding to people, but there are other activities that you're focusing also on. Remember, email was one of the sands that we put into our jar. If we spend our entire day just focusing on the sand, the pebbles and stones will never get completed. So therefore, use these simple ways of stipulating a certain time for sending back emails. Create some folders and rules so that your inbox doesn't look like you've got 20 emails every minute you refresh it. Some of the junk emails can go into different folders. Again, remove the emails which are not important. Delete them. The 4 Ds that we just learned about time management, delete it. There are certain emails which does not require to be responded. Just delete it. Sometimes I find people constantly CCing everyone in the world on emails. Why? Only CC those people who are required to be on an email. Don't just put it just for the sake of it. All right? So don't make emails a time waster. Try to make sure that you use your time more effectively. Another time waster is family obligations. Family obligations sometimes can also create a complete mess in your timelines or your plannings. You've planned your day, you plan to do certain things, and suddenly your parent or your partner comes and says, hey, we got to do a family obligation. We have to go for a dinner, we have to plan something, we have to pick up someone from the airport. It could be anything which is an unplanned activity. Those things also are huge time wasters. A simple way to plan your family time is better to just create a small calendar. Put it up on the fridge, put it up any common space in your home. Let everyone put up tasks so that everyone knows that their family time, the time they've spent or kept aside for family functions or family obligations, is used effectively. And it does not happen in such a manner where I was planning to work on a certain pebble or a rock in my jar, and my family then comes back and tells me that, hey, you got to do this task. Then everything goes for a toss in a way. All right. So important thing is family obligations also need to be managed. They can't be something that just come up to you on your face and say, hey, we got to do this. So start planning these family engagements by reminders, announcements, messages, better communication inside your family. It's not, time management is not only for your office and your profession, it's also for your home. It's your entire life. Last thing is some of the other smaller time wasters. Time wasters like people who just certainly just pop up into your life and want to spend and say hi. I have that a lot of times when people just randomly show up in office. And then what happens is the time that I had kept to do a certain activity has now been overtaken by somebody just showing up in my office to come and meet me. So therefore, make sure that you stipulate a certain time when you tell people that I'm available in the days only on this time. If you'd like to come and meet me and have catch up for a cup of coffee, plan your days in such a manner. Another thing you can do is close all those extra tabs on your website or on your browser. Don't have 25 tabs open. Yes, I know people love to multitask, but multitasking is not a good form of time management. You have to focus on one task and then move to the next task. Clear the clutter. Turn off that social media. Delete those games or turn off those games which you have. If you're playing a game which constantly keeps telling you a notification during your day, turn it off. Dedicate a time for only gaming. So don't create these time wasters for yourself. So make sure you create that do not disturb time for yourself to make better use of your time. The last thing I'm going to tell you today is how to use, or this is a simple exercise that every one of you can do. Okay, just check. A simple exercise that every one of you can do. It's a exercise where I would want you all to take a big sheet of paper. Use a large sheet of chart paper. Okay. In this chart paper, start writing down all the different tasks, activities, daily routines that you are supposed to do. Don't write them in a manner where you're listing them down in a chart paper one after the other. Try writing them in all different corners, blurbs a little bit everywhere. Write them in such a manner that they're not lists. They're just written all over the place. And write down everything: classes, tea, coffee break, social media, check my messages, reply to emails, every single thing that comes in your mind, everything that we spoke about, that jar, put that on a chart paper. Okay, so make that in such a manner that it's scribbled all over, not a list, but scribbled all over the chart paper. Again, I'll go slower. Part one, take a chart paper, scribble all over the chart paper with all the lists and activities that you're supposed to do. Okay, that's part one of your exercise. The second part of your exercise is now start identifying what are the time wasters. As we've understood all the time wasters previously, what are the time wasters in the scribbled chart paper? What I want you to do is take a scissor and start cutting out or tearing out also these time wasters and put them outside your chart paper. Remove them from your chart paper. Okay, so you've got this entire chart paper where you've scribbled everywhere. Now you're going to start cutting out all those time wasters from your chart paper. Do this as an exercise because this visualization of exercise will help you plan your days, will make you understand things that you would have not understood, subconsciously thought about, but not really understood how things are wasting your time. So cut out all those little things from the chart paper. And then finally, do part three. Close your eyes and look at, or sorry, not close your eyes, but open your eyes and look at what is left on the chart paper. Look at all the things that are mentioned which are still there on the chart paper, and then try to close your eyes and reflect on the things that you have to focus on. Because the limited time that you have in a day needs to be focused only on the things which are left on the chart paper, not on the things which are removed. Those time wasters have to be removed from your life. Only then you can manage your time better. And the things that you want to put back into your chart paper and you still feel those are important time wasters but still need to be put up, think about solutions, creative solutions of how you can bring that back in. For example, if phone calls are important, make sure, as I said, you stipulate a certain time for only those phone calls. All right, so make it, simplify it for yourself. Do this exercise. It should give you a better idea of how to manage your time. All right, so again, just a quick reminder. Part 1, get the chart paper. Part 2, scribble on it with all the tasks that you have. Part 2 is cut out all the different time wasters you've identified on that scribbled chart paper. And then part 3 is reflect on what's left and find creative solutions to bring in a more efficient way of completing everything you have on your chart paper. Okay, so that is my explanation of time management. I hope you all have had a little bit of a better understanding of it. I wanted to not keep this session very technical. I wanted to make it a little bit simple and give you a lot of hacks and simple solutions to start implementing in your lives. So I hope that has happened. I think, Sonia, you could probably start throwing the questions which people are asking to me now.
Well, before I start the question, the questions that I'm getting on the timeline, I want to ask some questions that I have for you.
Sure, absolutely, shoot.
So first of all, you have to tell me how much is of this presentation of time wasters and everything is inspired by looking at how I manage my time.
So I won't lie. Yes, you are part of the inspiration for this presentation. But not only you, I think I can tell quite a few people in our office, at least, who I don't want to name on this call. They all know who they are. I'm talking about me, who are a lot of time wasters. So I think when I first did this presentation and came up with it for office also was because I had noticed a lot of us not being able to efficiently use our time. And that's why I got interested about this topic and started doing some research and came up with this presentation.
Right.
But not only you, there are many others.
Okay. No, the way that you guessed exact 25 tabs on my screen, I thought that you were maybe sneaking in. Anyways, my first question to you is, Ashwin, that clearly I'm type 1, which you, I think, are aware about. There is a mix of type 2 also, but almost 70% is type 1. Now, what I face as a typical problem is that when I try to do the last, I think the second D, which is delegated, sometimes being the type A personality or type 1 personality, you sometimes want to delegate, but then you realize that, you will waste a lot more time by explaining the person something and they will take a lot of time by understanding it. And you end up doing it yourself. And that kind of adds on to your, everything is urgent and everything is important. So what do you would like to suggest to handle that strategy, Pat?
Okay, so that's a really good question because I think a large number of us face this problem. A large number of us always feel that I might as well do it myself than trying to explain it to anyone else. That's a better use of my time. Right. Now we need to understand, why does that happen? That happens because yes, we are completely that type 1 or type A, as you said, where everything is urgent and everything is important. Because everything is urgent and everything is important, nothing has been planned. If you had planned things, if you had written down probably processes, steps of how you need things to be done, think about that other category which we spoke about, type 2. Those are the people who have nothing is urgent, but everything is important. Because everything is important, everything is planned. Every activity has steps written down. So when they have steps written down, and something that at least in the business community we call standard operating processes or SOPs, these are things which are created by people who are type 2. And when they create SOPs, it's very easy for them to delegate because everything has been planned. It's not in your brain. The problem is why you think that it's easier for you to do, because the entire process of doing it is in your brain. It's not written down anywhere. It's not explained anywhere. So therefore, it's almost next to impossible to delegate.
True, true.
So for you to move, Sonia, if your concern is from moving from type 1 to type 2, I think the only way you can do it is start processing things which are there in your mind, things that you do, put them into documented ways, put them into steps, and then delegate them to others.
Yeah.
And yes, a part of it could be also training others to do those activities.
Great, great. That would be helpful. I'll start listing down things now. I think Charu also had the same question. So she's thanking me to ask that one. So I asked, two people asked the same question. Sunita is just loving the session. She's saying that the doctor ordered her just to do this time management. So she's very happy and grateful that you did this particular session. I have another question from Reena. Reena is asking that every single day I try to give my best, but I often end up doing just 20% of what I had planned. So if you can give her some clarity of how she can do like better. So she needs, please give me beginner step so that she can improve herself. And she also said she is a mix of type 2 and type 3. So she wastes a lot of time, but she has a clarity of her goals.
Okay. So, Reena, I would suggest you three things. First thing is, as you clearly identified which which type you fall under, or what's your way of looking at time, or in a way the how you focus on time, which is type 2 and type 3, you said, which is the first step, which is good. You've already identified that you are in that space. So now you know that where are the problems. You do understand that you're not able to focus on things for long. You have planned them, but you're not focused on things on long. Typically, when you feel that you have 100 things to do and you're only able to achieve 20% of what you're supposed to do, that is because there are too many things in your jar. Think about that exercise which I showed you, that jar which you are trying to fill. There are only two scenarios when that jar goes overfull. Either you've not filled it up the correct way, which is first you put the big rocks, then you put the pebbles, then you put the sand. So you put the big important things first in your day, then you put the simpler, smaller tasks, and then you fill up the corners wherever the space is with all the little phone calls, messages, and everything. Either what you're doing is you're filling up your day with all the sand first, and then trying to squeeze in all the big items, and they're overflowing. And that's why you're not being able to achieve what you need to achieve. That's one way, one possible thing that you're doing, which you need to fix. The second thing you're probably also could be doing is trying to do too many things in a day. As I said, the time is a commodity. It's a limited time that you have every day. There is no sense of starting your day by creating a to-do list of 45 things. It's inhuman. So you have to be very conscious. I mean, one of the biggest steps for time management, which you have to learn, is delete and delegate. Delete is very difficult because we can't let go of things which we need to do. So everything is important. We have to do everything, right? So therefore, learn how to delete it. Or as I said, delegate it. If you don't have a person to delegate it also, then defer it. Don't make your to-do list in a reality of a situation. You have 24 hours in a day and plan your day accordingly. So these are possibly the two things you are probably doing wrong and probably can work on improving.
That's wonderful inputs, and she is agreeing to what all you just messaged. She just gave her as an insight, and she's messaging that yes, I agree. And while you were explaining, she was writing a lot of things in agreement. So I think she got her answer. Rekha is asking how to overcome procrastination. So that's also, I believe, a big time waster. So how to overcome procrastination? And even I want to know that.
I'll tell you, what you have to understand procrastination from where does it come from. So procrastination comes from firstly understanding where you fall under those 4 types or where you're spending majority of your time. Procrastination is typically by those people who are in those oscillating between type 3 and type 4, where things are not important, neither are they urgent, or things are important but not urgent at all. Okay, so if you are a person who does not care about the way you're working and you're just a person who likes to go with the flow, let things come to me, then I'll try to get to it. If that's your personality, that's the way you function with time and do your task, that's the problem. You will always have a problem with procrastination. There's no way. You have to start finding a way to move out of 3 and 4 and start trying to live a life which is more in 1 and 2, or at least try to spend majority of your time in type 2. The second way of procrastination or focusing on procrastination is actually trying to understand tasks that you're passionate about and tasks that you're not passionate about. Procrastination is a very simple thing which happens to every one of us. We only do it for things we don't care. Now think about it. Procrastination never happens when you're planning a vacation. You're up in the morning, you can get, even if you're a person who does not like getting up early in the morning, and if you're on a vacation and you have to go and see 7 museums, you will make sure that you find the time to go and see every single museum. You'll be probably running from one museum to another museum to go and see it. Or maybe even if it is a fun park that you're going, and you're going to Disneyland and you want to go into every single ride, you're not going to procrastinate about it. Now, where's the procrastination that happens there? So procrastination happens when you're not passionate about activities that you have to do in life. So identify those things that you're procrastinating about, and most likely you're not meant to do those activities. Delete it, defer it. Focus on the things that you're passionate about doing and focus only on those, because you'll be much more productive at that. Okay, so always think about it. Procrastination never happens when we are passionate about doing something. It always happens when we're not passionate about doing certain activities.
Very true. I think I couldn't agree any more than this is. Lot of people are saying great session, very helpful. Varsha and even Reena and Rolly wants to just try to see all the time waster. They want to do the exercise and want to see how much time wasters they are going to get. Okay, Shilpa has asked you a question. She's first said, thank you for the useful session. She wants to know how to manage time when you work from home. It's so distracting as we are at home. And also we are doing some housework in the current situation. Can we use these tips, or is there something more that you want to add to
So you
current?
can definitely do the steps that I mentioned about the 4Ds and planning your days more effectively. But let's focus on the current scenario. We're all living a life which is a little bit not the normal. We're all isolated at homes. And especially for a large number of professionals, including myself, I struggle to work at home. I personally really struggle to work at home. I often experience of starting my day. The first thing I start doing is looking at the couch and probably spending time at the couch. In the office, I probably get up and have coffee only twice, but when I'm at working from home, I've noticed I'm probably having tea, coffee, and eating throughout the day. So these are time wasters that are coming in, and because the habits and the environment you have changed. So 3 things that you can start doing to be more effective and utilize your time more effectively when you're working from home. First thing is create a physical space for yourself. Okay, separate that physical space away from your home. May that be a small room, a section, anywhere it is. You isolate and create that space for yourself, which is your office space. Make sure you have a desk. Make sure you have a proper setup, just like how you have it in office, how you have professionally. Make sure you create that so that you start feeling like working. Avoid working in your bedroom. When you're looking at your bed, you most likely will feel sleepy and take 5 naps in a day. So don't work in your room. Don't sit with your laptop on your bed and think of working from there. If you're working, make sure you create an office space. And this goes for all the people who are actually permanently working from home also, because I know a lot of you actually work from home as a full-time thing. So make sure you create a physical space in your home, which is your office or workspace. The second thing that you want to do is, even though you're working from home, start focusing on the activities of work. Get up in the morning, have breakfast the same way you would have breakfast before going to work. Get ready, take a shower, and get dressed. Wear your shoes, wear your shirt, wear your pant, wear your suit if you have to, maybe not at home, but get dressed professionally. When you get dressed professionally, you start feeling like working. All right. So that's the second thing. And third thing, I said, what I already told in the presentation, make sure you focus on creating a to-do list and then try to achieve that in the day.
I think those are really great tips. And Shilpa, I hope you got your answer. We have next question, and this is by Raghav. Raghav is asking, as a student, it sometimes gets very hard to stick to your schedule and do the work that you desire to do. So how do you mentally hardwire or train your mind to stick to the tasks you want to achieve?
Okay, so really great question. And I would have to say that if you're really conscious about making your time effective at a young age when you're studying, also, it's very good because these good habits which you adopt today will become a habit for the rest of your life. Okay, so to answer your question, how do you reduce the amount or refocus on your activities when you're a student? It's the same thing. It's no different from a professional to a student. You have to create cascading issues. So when I said cascade, you have to, even as a student, you have to make what is your 2020 plan? What are the things that you want to achieve in 2020? Out of that 2020 plan, what is your monthly plan? Over the entire 12 months, every month, what is it exactly you're going to focus on? If the month of August is when you have exams, make sure that exams focus in that month. If you have certain activities, holidays coming up in certain months, make sure you create those monthly plans and then further circulate, come down to the weekly plans, which will then come down to your daily plans. If you make it in this cascading way, you will start making sure that you are more effective with the time you have. Because the minute you start planning your entire year and your months and your weeks and your days, you start realizing that you have only limited time. You only have 365 days in a year and 12 months and X number of days. I can't do the maths, and X number of time in a year. I can't do the maths again. I expect you to do it yourself. But understand the concept. You have limited time. So use that cascading effect to bring in the focus of what you have to do.
Yes, I think that bringing it down to your ultimate vision, if you have, and bringing it down and doing a bit of it every single day, even if you, do a little bit of it, I think what you're saying, that cascading actually works really well, especially if you have to stick to your schedule and do the work that you want to. So that's really good advice. And I follow that cascading on a daily basis. So it's really helpful. Okay, moving on to, we have tons of questions coming in, Ashwin, so you have to answer fast because you're over time, your time management.
I'll try to answer in a few words now.
Okay, Nidhi is asking, sometimes we don't know how much time certain tasks are gonna take and we have to finish in given timeline too, then how time management going to help us?
Okay, so quick answer, because yes, I can talk a lot about this also, but Nidhi, what you need to realize is that yes, how much ever you might plan, there are certain activities which might take longer than expected, and then the other activities which you have to do in your day will get compromised. So that's where the fourth D comes in, which is defer it. You have to learn how to move things which you have to do today to the next day and be conscious about it. That's perfectly fine. It happens to every one of us.
Yeah, I think that's very important. Sometimes you have to just say that not today, and
not today, tomorrow. I'll get to it tomorrow. I can't do it today. You have to be real. You have to be real with the situation.
Right, right. No, I agree with that 100%. All right, so I think that was the last question.
Oh, I thought you said lots of questions.
I said because we had to wind up on time, and that's why. But yes, a lot of great comments coming in. Really love the session. Sunita is just, in agreement, and she's saying that this is exactly what she wanted. This is what her recommendation for herself was, and even her doctor recommended her time management. That's really nice. Rekha loved the answer that you gave, and especially the vacation example. And Ruja is saying that the first advice you gave her was on time management and worked wonder for her. Nidhi is saying, thank you for the answer. Raghav loved the answer. So did Shilpa. And Nidhi is saying, we'll try and implement. So yes, everyone is loving the session, and I'm sure you have a lot of questions to ask Ashwin. So after the session, you can just reach out to him on his private messages, and he can reply to you personally. A lot of you have his phone number, so you can reach out on WhatsApp. And Ashwin, if you can just take some time after the session to reply to some question, if you want to add something on the comment section, that would be great. So I'll just quickly wind up today's session because we are over time by 2 minutes. Thank you so much for adding all the inputs that you have given us on time management. And this was really, really helpful. I think this made a lot of sense in terms of how to manage our time better, and especially the techniques, the 4Ds, that were really helpful. So thank you for sharing your insights on this. Yes, and tomorrow We will be having in Knowledge Happy Hour, we will be having Wendy Buchanan. She is an image consultant and licensed optician, and she will be sharing her journey of becoming an eyewear stylist. In that journey, she will be sharing a lot of information from business perspective, and especially I think that will help a lot from in the current times when everyone is thinking about what to do next and how to handle their businesses better. So she is going to share a lot of her insights. So I will see you all tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. And yes, have a great night, a great evening.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Sonia, for having me here. And I look forward to interacting with everyone on the comments. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.